Hi everyone, and welcome to Mind Matters, a head teacher and a psychologist podcast. This week we are joined by a wonderful guest, Emma Beveridge. She describes herself as a happy enthusiast. She is a passionate believer in the fact that magic can happen in classrooms if you create the right conditions for professionals to flourish, and that magic will then carry the tiny humans successfully through life's maze. She's an auntie, a daughter, a sister, and a friend to myself and to Kate. She believes in the power of bravery, gratitude, and kindness, always. She is lucky enough, she describes herself as lucky enough to be the executive principal working with the children, families and staff at LaceyField in Louth, and she loves what she does. She would also like me to mention that a big part of her journey and how she started her work at LaceyField was using the book When the Adults Change by Paul Dick, so she wanted to give him a little shout out as well, so that's for you, Paul. So yeah, Emma is a wonderful educationalist and person, so enjoy. We are so lucky to have Emma Beveridge here with us this afternoon. She is an inspirational leader and a wonderful friend, and I'm so grateful to have some of your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. I'm not sure about the inspirational leader bit, but I'm definitely a friend.
Absolutely,
well,
you are.
I think I would disagree with that, because obviously I know Emma because she used to be the head teacher that I worked for. So I would say you are indeed an inspirational leader. So with that in mind, tell us a little bit about how you got started on this kind of relationships first approach to work.
There's a lot to talk about there. I think it's always been part of who I am, but I think you're very much to blame, Mrs. Magson, Dr. Magson, sorry. I am a yoga teacher. We've discussed this at length. I am a yoga teacher, and I think the basis of the work that I did as a yoga teacher is the idea of gratitude and the idea of being grateful for everything you've got, which always leads you back to relationships and relational work. I think really early on in my career, I know it's really common sense, but I realised that the only way to get children to learn effectively was to actually have a really good relationship with them, and an authentic relationship, to genuinely care. And then as I moved through my career, I think I always used what I'd learned in the classroom in the staff room and just transferred that across. So it became an idea of, right, if I love my kids, I'll love my staff, and then I'll nurture them, and then they'll do the same as my children used to do in the classroom. And that just ripple effect just kind of grew and grew. Until I met Kate, and there was some science behind this magic, and I think that was where I really became interested in the theory, the science, and how it could be applied more effectively and shared with a larger audience. How my leadership could create that ripple effect of that relational magic. I think that's where I came to when I met Kate. It was serendipitous that we met, I would say.
It certainly was.
It's interesting hearing you say that, Emma, because in the previous episodes I've talked about how similarly that meeting Kate kind of was that light bulb of, so that's what this is about. And it's interesting that journey as educators, when we put that science behind it, then how that catapults us up to the next level. And I wonder how many other head teachers out there that haven't got the science, that if they did, what would happen?
I think that would be where the ripple effect continued. I'm locked onto the idea of relational approaches and instilling happiness and wellness. So to me, and I kind of hope to the rest of the world, that's common sense. Why wouldn't you want to be happy? Why wouldn't you want to find more fulfillment in your life? Why wouldn't you want to do that for other people? So it's fascinating to me that there are any other approaches anyway. I think it's vital that we get on our soapbox and we just try and help as many people to understand that this is a research base. This isn't just airy-fairy, let's all be happy, let's and I think what frustrates me more than anything is that people think this is a move away from learning. It's not. As Kate's taught me, you need those happy chemicals to be able to learn and to be able to make that learning stick. So actually, it's for the greater good of everyone. We're not teaching our children, and the way we do this means that our children are not taught to be SATs machines or GCSE machines. We're teaching them the skills for life that people call the soft skills, but absolutely they are not the soft skills. These skills are the skills that will take them through life successfully. And for me, that is the greater good. And that's the thing that will save the country millions in terms of health bills, mental health bills, justice system bills. There is a huge picture to this. And if we can just get the science into the hands of the masses, they will create very wise actions.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I wondered if you would be able to share with us, because obviously your role at the minute is your executive principal over 2 schools, am I right?
Yes.
So you've had the interesting job of uniting 2 schools. I just wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about how that kind of relational way of working and how you've managed to take that across into your role as it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk about it for days. I think I've struck gold, really. As soon as I started in my current role with Wellspring, I knew that these 2 schools were really special to me. I'd been and done some work in both of them. I'd got to know some of the staff in those schools. And there was just something special, something that you can't put your finger on, but it's palpable. And I knew that with nurturing and the work that had already gone on before I got there, I knew it was the right place for my approach, really. So it feels like seconds ago in a way, and it feels like years ago in another sense. It feels like this is where I belong, this is my home. But LaceyField, as we call it, the home of Eastfield and Lacey Gardens, we brought it together because they serve the same community. Yes, I'm an executive principal of 2 schools, but they're right next door to each other and they serve the same community. So it seemed sensible for us to create just one school, utilise the skills of every single person, every single part of that community as one. And everybody's really leaned into it. It's been incredible. We came together as a team in September for the first time. And the first kind of story that I told the staff was the idea, the story of NASA. So man went into NASA when they were trying to put a man on the moon. He said to every single person there, what is the mission? Top dog CEO person said, well, it's to put a man on the moon. He asked every single other person, he asked the guy that cleaned the floors for an hour a week, what's the mission? And he said, to put the man on the moon. It's the same mission for everybody. And that was my motivation behind that first day with the staff. Clean slate, saturate them with everything I know, so that they're in the same relational place as me. So loads of Brene Brown, loads of Ken Robinson, some articles, just hundreds of bits and pieces that I could feed them, loads of quotes and loads of positivity and loads of nurture in that first day, so that we could come up with our mission and our values, what we believed in, the behaviours for learning that we felt we and the children would need to carry them through a successful life. And I felt that if that was the place we started, we'd have a lovely foundation for our brick mother, our school. So the foundation is your culture, you've got your walls of your pedagogy and your curriculum, and that keeps our children safe. So yeah, that's where we started, and it just evolved over the course of the day. You know, we did loads of activities, we did some back to bear, axe throwing, got together, lots of team building, and then the next day we had another day together, and this mission of busy being brilliant, and then all of a sudden the bees came to life. So we decided that we'd have be brave, be kind, be on the team, be in charge of me, be grateful as it is now, and be curious as our behaviours for learning. And everything's just built from there. And if anybody asks me how that team has been brought together, I would say that it's that we've got this shared language, a shared approach, and that it's a team effort. I have been so lucky. They're just ace. They are just ace. I could cry thinking about that team, especially at the minute with the way, you know, the way the world is. They have just gone above and beyond, and there's no pun there.
What really strikes me is that your Bs are not just for the children, but your Bs extend to the staff too. So it creates kind of an expectation for all and a safety for all.
Yeah, I'd like to think of it as a safety for all, actually. Yeah, and I think actually, and this is something that I've reflected on just recently, the Bs were made for the children, and we really did focus on the children. And do you know what? For the first few weeks, they were really superficial. It was just a case of, in assembly, show me be in charge of you. And it was really just a framework for language, but at least it was there. Everything's a journey. Nothing will go in the way you envisage it. Actually, you might not end up where you intended to be. We actually started with be honest rather than be grateful, and that's evolved. So I think in terms of the reflection that I had over the last few weeks, it was that actually we do model it now. I write an email to my staff every week, and I actually wrote in the headers of the Bs and modelled that practice. And I think because we've had to be so much more visible on social media and through an online platform during lockdown, it's been really important that we do that, and we would continue to have that focus every single week of right, this week's be grateful, this week's be in charge of me, and we've modelled it for them. So I think that's something new. We maybe were doing it already, but it's definitely more conscious now.
So something that we asked all guests is, what does adversity and trauma look like for your community, mean to you and your team? What does it look like for your community?
Again, this is something that's evolved in my mind. I think when you and I first started working together, Kate, it was very much a focus on trauma, just the understanding of trauma, and I didn't understand it. I'll be perfectly honest. I wanted to, and it was a passion, but I didn't understand it at all. I didn't understand the way it affected the brain. I didn't understand what it truly was, and that actually it touches everybody's life. Nobody can go a life without trauma. So I think my focus has very much shifted, and it's shifted over the course of this year to, and it's easier said than done, to move away from deficit model, to move away from, right, what's gone wrong for you, to, right, what can we do right? What can we do right? How can we instill happiness? How can we create that resilience for you, and create that buffer? And how can we create relational growth? I think that's the crux of it now. Every single child deserves this. This isn't, some children will need it more, and the ones who show us that they need love in the hardest ways are the ones that need this the most. But I think it's something for everybody. Everybody deserves this. Everybody deserves happiness and wellness. So yeah, for me, in terms of how it looks for our community, it's an entitlement. You are entitled to be happy in your learning. You are entitled to feel safe at school, which is a bigger conversation for right now in our current situation as we begin to reopen schools and social distance. But yeah, I think, has that answered the question?
I just wonder, on the back of that, so this well-being, this sense of entitlement to well-being, how have your wider school community responded to that? How have the parents got on board with that? Have they got on board with that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting context, my school, because the infant side had an amazing head teacher for 15 years before I arrived. However, my junior side had about 7 heads in 7 years. So a very different context, and the families see them as very different, or did see them as very different academies, and favoured them in different ways. And there was very much, I don't want to say a stigma, but perhaps some opinions about the schools that were through hearsay and weren't particularly truth. So to my mind, the way that the families have responded has changed over the course of the time that we have created LaceyField. I think everybody has their own opinion, and there's always very different opinions on a very long continuum. And I think at the beginning there was some scepticism around the idea of restorative practice, and around the idea of, well, what do you mean you're not doing detentions anymore? How do you keep your kids under control? But equally, there were some parents who absolutely lapped it up and just couldn't wait to see how this would come to life. And I think slowly but surely, it's it's changed, and the only reason it's changed is through relationships. You know, my SLT are out on the gates every single morning saying good morning to every single child, every single adult. You know, we let our parents have a voice. I'll ring if there's an issue and this you know, I get something on Facebook, I'll ring them and I'll support them. We're there for our families, and I think more so than ever through this through lockdown that's what we've done. And because we had those relationships built, it's meant that we could really solidify them and really support our families. And I've seen a massive shift in the way that we are seen in the local community over this 8 weeks. I'm just eternally grateful and indebted to the fact that the community has supported one another, supported us, and trusted myself and my team to make the right decisions for our children. So yeah, it's a journey again, it's changed, and I would hope it will continue to get better and better. You know, I've said to my families, we'll come back stronger at the end of this, and I absolutely mean it, and I know we will.
Yeah. So has lockdown given you an opportunity to develop family kind of connections even more so than before?
Silver lining wise, yeah, I suppose, yeah. If you look at the silver lining in this, absolutely. I would hope that that's where we'd get to anyway, because that was always the mission, to create this really cared for and loved community. But yeah, I from the feedback I'm getting, I think that it's just a fantastic community, and everybody who is involved wants to be part of it.
Hannah, what do you think of that? Because I wonder if that's a similar feeling that you might be getting.
Absolutely. I feel that completely with the team that I work with and with the parents, that I've never felt so connected in isolation. I know that sounds really strange.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
And I think because, like you say, we've had to be that face, we've had to be the person out there, we've had to be the shoulder to cry on and the person to contain all of those feelings, that in actual fact, that's when relationships grow and develop and strengthen. So I would absolutely...
Yeah, through adversity. We've gone with the sort of idea of staying well together. So even though we're apart, we'll continue to support each other together. And I think that's come through just clarity and clear decision making, and the communication that we put out regularly, and social media, lots and lots of social media. So I need to thank my team for that, because they've just been amazing.
And as well, I had a conversation today about this actually, is what strikes me about you, Emma, is that idea of leading with heart.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a leader with heart. I don't do things because I'm told to do them. I do it because it's right for our community, much like you said.
Yeah, I think that comes down to authenticity again, though. You can't do things authentically if you're just going by what is supposed to be done. And I think that's why I work for the trust that I work for, because there's that autonomy and that absolute support for the decisions you make as a skilled and expert leader.
You're right. It's you knowing what's best for your community.
Yeah.
I think that's the shift. So you've spoken about how you've kind of united a staff team and changed perceptions of parents and continue to change that. I just wonder, as a head teacher, when you walk around your school, what impact do you see on a daily basis in the classrooms as you walk around? What do you see? How are you seeing your fingerprints everywhere?
I don't think they're my fingerprints at all. I think they are the work of 110 people. But if I was, the first thing you'll see is bees. You'll see them everywhere, literally, which is lovely, because that means that idea is saturated and it's having an impact. And I genuinely think it is. It's not superficial anymore. You know, our children will actively talk about kindness, and they'll say, Miss, I'm being in charge of me. I was really brave with my learning today. And do you know what? The next thing you'll see is laughter, and the next thing you'll see is cuddles. And you'll just see this environment where there's a smile through learning, that, you know, they're engrossed, they're engaged. But if I walk into a classroom, they'll smile, and there's that sense of they know who the people around them are, they know they're safe, they know they're loved, they know they're cared for. And even if there's a child having a wobble, you know, we all have the wobble, they know that they're safe in that moment as well. And that's taken time, and we're not there yet. There'll be children that we'll still have to work on that with, and it's going to, you know, be a significant issue, I think, when we return. But I do genuinely believe there's a sense of safety, there's a sense of a shared language, a shared approach, and a sense of love.
That only someone who leads well from the top can create. So whilst, you know, I fully appreciate the team behind you, that again, a leader with heart is the only person that can make
Pick some good people to have with me.
So one of the questions I get asked a lot is what is there any CPD that you'd recommend that you've done with your staff? Is there any approaches that you would recommend, or anything that you would suggest? I get a lot of that from head teachers, you know, where do I start? What do I use?
I think start with finding out where your staff are. You know, it's a done with, not done to model. You know, think Mark Finnis, you know, it's that idea of, right, what we're doing this together. Where are we all? Where, you know, we start from where we are and we continue from there. So I think that's a starting point. And knowing yourself as a leader, the places to signpost them to is then the next step. I think I've been influenced by an incredible number of people, and it's not even about name dropping. It's just people who you meet on a day-to-day basis. The person who taught me to be a yoga teacher has been a massive influence on my life. You know, the two of you are a massive influence on myself as a professional. I've got some incredible colleagues in Wellspring and Positive Regard who, you know I can just ring up and say, oh, I need some help. What do you advise? And I think the people that I work with as well, you know, my mission has always been to surround myself with people who are cleverer and know more than me, so that they can create this condition where my children can flourish. So in terms of, you know, training and things, I think there's a lot to be said for looking at restorative practice, and I say practice, but I mean culture. Looking at the idea of that, looking at the idea of understanding attachment in the classroom and how that can influence. There's some incredible work around. I think I will always apply it to what I do in my school. So mastery maths in the sense of what I know my curriculum looks like, in terms of how we approach our curriculum, in terms of it being absolutely saturated with our culture, but then using really high quality texts, because I think they instill a sense of creativity and a sense of pride. Project-based approach, so that it's purposeful and the children feel like they've got a sense of ownership over what they're learning, and over where the end point to that learning is. But throughout everything we do, the bees are like the DNA. I think I've probably gone off on a tangent now, but
no, you haven't.
I don't think I can answer your question in terms of where I'd signpost somebody to go for training, because
what you've just described is there's no magic pill, no magic wand. The greatest resource that we all have is ourselves and our relationships.
It's the long game. It's not going to change overnight.
And whilst you're absolutely right, there are wonderful resources out there that you can tap into and use, and I've learned loads, but
yeah,
it's all futile without
absolutely.
That.
And I think I spent 7 months last year in Leeds as the principal of
course, yeah,
SEMH provision, which was just the best CPD I've ever had in my entire life, and I miss all of those people such an incredible amount.
Talk about immersing yourself in that world, you know, that's
just amazing. And I think we had additional CPD time, and we learned a lot about attachment, we learned a lot about trauma-informed practice, we watched the Resilience movie, we learned about regulation techniques, we did a lot of theraplay activities, we did a lot of work with Karen Treisman in terms of her books and her approaches, but that wouldn't have come together if it wasn't for the fact that relationship of the staff team and the relationship we had with those children who had, you know, significant need, that it wouldn't have worked. So, and we picked the training that was right for us. You know, we did a lot of sensory circuits work because that's what our children needed. But if somebody were to ask me, right, what's the magic pill from my school? It wouldn't have been what I did at Springwell, and it wouldn't be what I've done at LaceyField. You work on where your context, where you are, you start from there, and you go.
You come back to that idea of
you understand
knowing my community well.
Yeah. Get to know them. Be curious.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another bee in there, Emma.
Absolutely.
Feeling the pupils. So, you know, and again, this is something I often get. It's often a misconception, I think, is when I talk to fellow professionals, they're like, oh, it all sounds like sunshine and rainbows and you just hug kids all day long and isn't it wonderful? And in actual fact, we know as a three, that this stuff is hard.
It really is.
And whilst, you know, much like you, I am saturated in it. I'm in it now. I adore it. However, it doesn't stop it from being hard. So I wonder if you would be able to share with us what you think the greatest challenges have been or will be for you.
Yes, absolutely. I think we, all three of us, have had this conversation, whether together or separately, of on your very best days when everything's gone perfectly and you sit there and you look at it all beautifully, you never think, right, that's it, I've nailed it, I've got it, that's it, don't need to do it, job done. But on your very worst days, you literally think the whole world has fallen apart and that it's never ever going to go back to the way it was. And I think that's my greatest challenge. It's remembering to focus on how far you've come every day. You know, as a leader, all you can do is try to create the conditions, try to support your staff, get to know your staff, build those relationships and create, you know, nourish to flourish, create those conditions, and then just wait and believe, in a sense. You can't change too much too often. Once you've planted a seed, you've got to just nourish it and wait. And I think that's the hardest part. Some people say it's buy-in, some people say it's, you know, that one BMW, you know, the one drain in the staff room, but I don't believe that is the case at all. I think it's just, as a leader, impatience. I want it now and I want to see it happening and I know it will, but I've got to wait and believe. And your bad days, when you get to that bad day, oh no, it's all gone wrong, but actually it hasn't, and you've just got to remember that's one day. And my old boss in Leeds, Scott, he said to me once when I've had a really bad day on the phone, he said, it's not about what's happened, it's about your reaction to what you do next. It's about what you do next, your reaction to this bad day. And that stuck with me. Bad days, they're out of your control, some things will happen, but your reaction as a leader and your response as a leader is the thing you can control. So yeah, I think that maybe hasn't answered the question, but
absolutely it has. Because I hear you totally. You hear all these wonderful things, you read all these wonderful things, and you're like, yeah, that's what I want, and I want it yesterday.
Yeah, and you only ever read the positive. You only ever read, oh, this is this amazing thing that this school is doing, and oh my goodness, I want that for my children, I want that for my babies, and oh no,
and I want it now.
Success iceberg, isn't it? That success iceberg where you see that end goal and you see it for someone else, and you're like, yeah, I want that, but you don't see all the work that's gone on underneath that moment of success.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how many times they've had that feeling, because I've been there, we've talked this through a lot, when you have had that bad day and you're like, I ruined this school, I brought all these ideas in and I ruined it for everyone.
And I think that's it, because as the senior leaders in the school, we have to be the swans, not always, and I will always show emotion for my staff, but I know I need to be the calm amongst the chaos, especially in a situation like closing a school down because of a worldwide pandemic. No one wants me running around screaming and crying. So I think being that calm in the chaos is sometimes the hardest part, and you do need the safe people like the two of you are for me, to be able to go, actually, I really want to run around, scream and cry. So yeah, I think that's
the number of SOS text messages I send you.
It's just in between.
Please help me. And I think, you know, what it means, this relational stuff, when it's golden, it is the most magical thing, but when it goes wrong, it's heart-wrenching, because it is not just an initiative, it's your heart and your soul you put into this.
Yes.
When it doesn't go quite right, you do have those moments of, oh my god, I've ruined everybody. Absolutely. It's all my fault, they hate me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we've got, especially if you have had a bad day and you're locked onto the negative, your brain naturally, caveman style, will look for the rest of the negatives in that day. And I think one of the things that's really helped me, and I did it throughout my time at Springwell, it was to journal and write down, because and I've told Scott and the team this, when I first went into to be the leader of the SEMH setting, I was like, I'm a complete fraud, I've got no experience, and I felt as if I was going to absolutely fail them. So I felt the need to write a journal so that I could see my journey, and actually that really helped, because I knew if I was having a negative day, I could see it in front of me being written on the page now, and it would make me go, no, I need to stop. I need to remember what's been good about today. So as time went on, I think it was I started in the January, and I think around about the February time, I started to make myself begin each day with a positive, with something I was grateful for, because that then reset my mind. And all the time through the day, I was thinking, well, what will be the thing I'll write down that I'm grateful for today? So rather than locked onto the negative, I was locked onto the thing that I'd start my journal with. It didn't always work, but...
But again, that comes back to the relationship you have with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That is also a key part of all of this is a relationship of growth within yourself and how you look after yourself.
And actually your hardest days are the ones that teach you the most about that. I'm actually looking at my yoga mats out in front of me.
I was just about to say, with that in mind, what do you do other than journaling for self-care?
You know the answer to this one.
I do know the answer, but all the listeners don't.
Anybody who knows me knows what I do. So obviously at the minute it's a little bit more difficult, but I'd like to lift weights. But no, I think
and good she is at it too.
I'm a massive advocate of being active and using exercise to give you the release of positive chemicals in the body. I was always like it at school, Hannah. I think I trained to be a yoga teacher about my life 7 years ago, and then from yoga I sort of moved into a bit of weight training and cardio, and then that's evolved, and now I compete in CrossFit competitions, weightlifting, gymnastics. Probably not that great at it right now, and I fear having to go back to the gym because my coach will kill me. But I love exercise. That's my absolute go-to self-care. I think just behind seeing my beautiful nephew. That's my number one. If I'm having a bad day, there is nothing better than watching a little video of him when he was 2, running around playing hide and seek with me and Laura. That's my absolute number one. If I'm having a bad day, I'm going to get in touch with Harry. I think that's the motivation for my work in education as well, actually. I think that was maybe, Kate, going back to that first question, I think maybe that was the point at which there was a massive switch. I mean, he's 8 now, but I think because I was there when he was born, and knowing how I felt when he went to school, it was a bit like, all my life, a piece of my heart is going into that building. And then that was right, a piece of everybody's heart's coming into my building. How can I support that?
It's a nice way of thinking about it.
What I'm absolutely struck by when talking to you is how human you are. This isn't a leadership role. This is heart and soul stuff. And you bring that to every interaction that you have. And you're just so authentic and genuine. And I'm really grateful for you.
Oh, that's nice. I'm really grateful for the two of you, though. Otherwise, I may have gone insane this the last few weeks.
But how wonderful that you can bring that humanness and that love and that care to all the people that you can influence.
I hope that's how. Yeah, it's so hard to see your true self in a mirror, isn't it? You look to other people, and I think my go-to is always, what would I want for me? What would I want people to do for me? What would I want people to do for Harry, my sister, my mum? I think that's always go back to, if this was someone who was my absolute, I just loved and cared for, what would I want for them?
Leading with heart.
Absolutely.
Great place to start, isn't it?
I think so.
So thinking about leading from the heart, how would we see that heart in your school? What does universal provision look like?
It's a million different things. from the very small things to the biggest of things. I think you know, you see all over Twitter and things, people making fun of, oh, we've got a weekly yoga class, and they put fruit in the staff room and all these different things. And it's fine to make fun of those, because actually, yeah, if you get well-being wrong and your approach to well-being, you get it wrong, staff will take the mick out of it, because actually it's for the staff, it's for the children. So again, I think it goes back to asking them. I think right at the beginning, you know, everybody knows me as a complete feeder. I get told off quite frequently, especially because I don't eat snacks. So I think, you know, there's always a snack. Freddo Fridays is our favourite. In Leeds, it was Feed 'em Fridays. There was always pick and mixes and bits and pieces. And it's, as I always say to everybody, it's the only way I can show you I care and that I say thank you, is a snack on a Friday. So I think, you know, little things like that. We always have a dedicated wellbeing week where we say no meetings, no late nights, unless not having a late night will make your wellbeing worse. I think it's about an invitation rather than a mandate. So I offer you this as a token to support your well-being. Accept it, or if it won't work, leave it. You know, I think it goes all the way down to policy, looking at the marking policy, looking at your behaviour policy, making sure that you support. Again, knowing your staff, knowing that you can go, you know, if I go up to one of my teachers and I can tell there's something wrong, that's well-being. And then that's a case of, right, what do we do? Our wellbeing offer is something that myself and my executive vice principal Charlotte, we've designed, and Charlotte takes a complete lead on it, and I trust her wholeheartedly. And she's very skilled in that relational approach. I think it is about the small things. It's not about anything massive. Yes, I've done yoga classes, and yes, we gave everyone a Christmas shopping afternoon, but actually, did that make the biggest difference in the world? Probably not. Did me sending a text to one of my teachers who I'd seen in tears make a difference? Probably yes. And because I know that member of staff, you know, I think that's the bit that makes the difference for me. Just, we know the phrase that Karen uses all the time, and that Dr. Bruce Perry uses all the time: the more relationships a person has, the greater strength they're going to have. So for me, our wellbeing offer is about that. So yes, I could tell you that we do wellbeing goodie bags, I have free cinema tickets and free golf tickets in, and we do, I can't even think because we do so much. Just a hello and a welcome every morning. And I think just recently we've asked the staff themselves, what is it? I've just recently reread Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, and she always talks about the idea of, if you want to find the way, you've got to see what gets in the way. So I've put out a questionnaire to my staff just recently in their teams to just discuss, without me there, what is it that gets in the way of well-being, so that we can find the way to well-being. And I'm just getting that feedback now, and it's really interesting because most of my friends will know that on a Sunday I write the Sunday Post to my staff. And I wake up every Sunday, and I love writing it, but it makes me a little bit anxious because it's like, oh, the weekend's over. And actually the weekend shouldn't be over on a Sunday morning at all. And from the feedback, I found out that the staff aren't particularly keen on getting it on a Sunday, because they're like, oh God, the weekend's over, we're going back to work. Not that they don't like work, it's just that the weekend's your weekend. So actually, it turns out I'm not particularly a fan, they're not particularly a fan, so why are we doing it? So I think it's, you know, getting them to give their voice as well, and the children to give their voice, and yeah, team effort. It's all kinds of little things.
And knowing you as I do, I know that gratitude is so central to who you are. I wonder if you could just sum up some of the ways and things that have made you grateful during this journey. What are you grateful for?
I think gratitude, rather than what I'm grateful for, just to begin, I think gratitude really, as I said at the beginning, it started with my yoga teacher training. The idea of living wholeheartedly, like Brené says, living wholeheartedly comes through well-being, through gratitude and being grateful. And it's the idea of trying your best not to do the whole foreboding joy thing. You know, actually, if you're having a really great day, just enjoy it. Don't worry about what might go wrong. And when you're having a not so great day, right, well, what am I grateful for? What is getting me through? What can I do to make this day better? So in terms of the things that have taught me, or the things I've been most grateful for through my journey, it's always the people I've met. It absolutely is. You know, I have met some, even in one of the jobs that I've had in the past, was really, really tough for me. And it was a really hard portion of my life. But there's people that got me through that time that I can absolutely rely on 100%. And a lot of them have come with me, which is incredible. And they're the people I'm really grateful for. The people who at my toughest time got me through and just stood by me no matter what. And they didn't even need to say anything. They just sat there, probably with, you know, a cuddle or two and things like that. But yeah, people who've got me through my toughest times, and people who've been my champion, my cheerleaders. You know, when I ring them and say I've done the wrong thing and it's all going wrong, the people who've cheered me on and said, no, we know you can do it, absolutely fine, you've got this. And that's, you know, it's you, it's Kate, my mum, my dad, my sister, Harry, you know, so many of my friends, my gym friends as well. Like, you know, the people that I work out with are not just friends, they're family. And they've been an incredible support. People out in Leeds, Wellspring bosses, just, I could do a million shout outs here. I'm very lucky.
So to sum up, I just want to say a huge thank you for giving us your time this afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
I always come away from talking to you really inspired, and I think that is something that you just ooze. And yeah, I'm sure that everyone watching this will want to reach out and find out more about your school and kind of contact you. So I just wondered if you wanted to share the best way to be able to contact you after this podcast goes out.
Yeah, absolutely. I would welcome anyone to get in touch if that's what you want to do. If you want to hear more of my craziness and more about the amazing stuff that my incredible team do, then just get in touch. I'm on Twitter at Emma J Beveridge, or my lovely school is at LaceyField Louth on Twitter as well, and you can find them on Facebook as well. We share everything. It'll make you smile, if nothing else, looking at the Twitter feed.
And what we'll do as well is when this goes out, we will tag all of those accounts in as well. So if anyone wants to find you with ease, they'll be in there as well.
Fab. So
thanks very much. We hope you enjoyed our episode of Mind Matters this afternoon. Please do share. Subscribe wherever you normally find your podcasts, or on YouTube. And like I said, if anyone's got any questions or wants to reach out, then please do. Lovely to have you with us.